a reminder to all attendees, the meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cottle.
Here.
Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Crafton.
Here.
Councilmember Velock.
Here.
Councilmember Rubio.
Here.
You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. All council members are with us in chambers, except Councilmember Crafton, who is participating telephonically.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Johnson, would you lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. And there is no one signed up, so I will close public participation. There's no unfinished business. We are at new business. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Item number 2417, discussion on goals and initiatives for fiscal year 2026, Committee of the Whole.
Is there a motion to enter the Committee of the Whole?
Madam Mayor, I move to enter Committee of the Whole, which would include the City Council, the Mayor, and the City staff.
Is there a second?
Second by Councilman Johnson.
It has been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to enter the Committee of the Whole. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are now in Committee of the Whole. The time is 6:02 p.m. Okay, and I will now turn it over to Eric, Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. So we're meeting tonight about the goals and initiatives, which is a yearly get-together and discussions between the council, the mayor, and her administration. You notice tonight that the packet looks different. We wanted to address that from the beginning. As we've started this unique budget process, since we're doing another single-year budget, and then we'll get back on track with the 2-year-in-a-row budget that we've seen in the past. We also wanted to take this opportunity to refresh how we go about this goals and initiative process. In your packet is the document that has been used for several years with 9 goals and 56 subpoints below those. We used those in the last few meetings to highlight what the different departments and divisions within the city have been working on, to kind of tie those back together so that you could see how this budget was being created. But as we talk tonight, we feel it's very important that we take a good hard look with the council on how that document is structured. When you have executive directors such as yourself, executive level decision makers, it's really important to have the right strategic planning process, and that at this level things need to remain at a 30,000 foot planning horizon, if you will. So for instance, the way we operate is, the council's elected representatives, the mayor is the elected city manager, and so as we kind of discussed last night, the way the information flows is from the council to the mayor down through administration. And so the older document that is inside your packet has been growing and growing in operations creep, if you will. And so this is an important time to step back and say, what are the high-level goals and initiatives that the council wants to tackle, that they work on in the public forum so that the public sees the planning that goes into it for the good of the community, and then is used to work with the mayor as her administration builds the budget that then follows the normal budget creation process. One of the things we did was look back at other documents, the historic documents that led to budgets in years past, and there's some really important changes that have happened in the last few years, and one of those is a flow chart that doesn't seem to be included in the budget anymore that talks about how the budget gets started and how the vision of the executive committee flows through the administration and down into the operations budget. And I think that what you see in our submission tonight for this, for discussion purposes to get it going again, is a truncated 5-goal document that has, between 3 and 4 initiatives under each of them, 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, so that we can start to have those high-level discussions again. And so then the idea is that when the administration makes the budget and when it comes for review with the public and the council in April, if something didn't make it in that a council member wants to see, that's when it comes in. But this document and this planning horizon needs to be higher level than that. And so what we would want to see is not 9 goals and not 56 initiatives within it, but to have the broader, more, don't want to say ethereal, but this is typically a process that is guided with a consultant, if you will. So this would be a planning process that has a third party that works with other cities as their level of expertise to talk about those strategic visions that the council wants to see for the next 5, 10, 20 years. And almost at the intangible level to say, like for the first goal, quality of life, continue to provide citizens with the highest quality of service in the most efficient and effective manner that ensures safe and a thriving community. And so then those are broken down with a little bit more detail, and then they move into the administration's oversight, and then all the departments are looking at what role they play to live up to those objectives and to find the programs or the processes that need funding that then we point back to it. And so we come back with our budgets and we say, these budget items meet these goals that the council and the administration have put together. So this document looks drastically different than the one that you've seen the last few years, and I wanted to highlight that. What we are also proposing is to talk about, what the next steps are. So if Cassie's ready, I'd like her to jump up to the up front up here and talk about how this fits in with the budget process and the calendar that we have brought before the council in one of the last IMs to talk about what the dates are and the meetings that we've planned. Do you want a copy of that? Okay. So I'll let Cassie talk a little bit more about that.
Can we get a copy of that calendar document, please?
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull it up. Wait, can you pull it up, or do we?
Either way, or I can make copies if you want.
I think this has notes from Eric on it, actually.
I can make copies.
Okay. What was that?
You make copies now?
Yeah,
Okay, yes, thank you, Ashley.
thank you. Basically, what we have determined, Eric and I kind of have been going through the budget process and trying to figure out the best possible way to go about this in a manner that makes sense to us. And one of the biggest ways that we have found is that prior to this, when Troy was actually doing the budget back in, I believe he retired in 2022, I believe was the last time he was, and he completed that last year of 23-24, which we're actually going to be the example that we're going to build the budget on for this coming year. This budget book, the reason it is the way it is and the reason it has all the sections and the tabs and the information that is in it is because of the GFOA award. It is built off of the standards and the information that is presented to us for this. In this document, you might, if you pull up For the last 19 years prior to this, from 23 to 4, this document shows up in there. It was for 19 years that Troy and Ted had it prior to that. Code states that we will strive to do this and to make our budget presentations and that we will formulate our budget for this. GFOA requires of that portion, a part of their budget framework is that we will have goals and initiatives which drive how our budget is developed and how that we represent the best needs of the city. And so in order to do that, we have to come up with the mechanism to do that. I've always had the mechanism of a strategic plan. That's not something that's been done here in quite a while, or if it's ever been done here. Majority of strategic plans are built off of comp plans. Our last comp plan was done in 2011. We're getting ready to initiate that comp plan here, coming up here probably this spring. And so the question remains is how we will get to that level of detail. Goals and initiatives, as I've seen them and how they've been developed in other cities and other formats, is that it's your 30,000 foot level with initiatives that are kind of going down into a 20,000 to a 10,000 foot level. We figure out what that main 5 goals, 3, 4 goals are, and those levels after that are based upon, and they're very wide and generic in how you want to do it. We take those goals, we bring them back to the mayor and all the departments. We all sit down and develop how we are going to take this budget and fulfill those goals and initiatives that the mayor and the council has worked on, that part of it. Once we do that, we build the budget, we do all the things. The mayor picks out all the initiatives and how we're gonna create them and do everything. And then on the April, I think it's 14th. The 14th is when it is introduced. The ordinance is introduced and the presentation will be done. The 15th and 16th, we're gonna have the budget presentations where we will go through the line items and do all the fun stuff of that nature and do capital projects. And then we will have another regular meeting, first public hearing on the 28th. And then the 29th is the nitty gritty, as I like to call it. That's the second and final public hearing. And then that is where you have a committee of the whole, if you wish to have more discussion, or if you would like to have budget amendments that actually will be placed into the actual budget document. And that is where we would have a budget amendment that either Jamie gets prior to head or we will work it as we kind of do it. If there is a certain project, a certain item that is not included in that budget that the mayor has presented that you wish to have in that, that is the time that we will put it in the budget. We'll go to the vote of the council, and if it passes, we will fulfill that in the ordinance and do everything of that mechanism. And then once that's completed and everybody has everything that they want, then we would close out the budget process and go through the normal ordinance process that would happen. The other part of that is the Wasilla Municipal Code, I think it's 504020, I believe, actually states that the mayor will bring the budget, their budget to the council by the May 30th deadline, I believe is that code. Kind of, don't quote me on it, but that's basically what it says. And so that is kind of how Eric and I are presenting this evening, and it's kind of a different level. And the reason we're doing that, and it's kind of funny, as I came in here to work on this budget last year in January 8th, Ted Leonard was here. He was helping with me with the budget, trying to get everything caught up and do everything with it. And the very thing he said to me was when we were building that budget last year was, you literally go to the city council's page and you start at the top, and I have to make sure every single one of these 56 items is in that budget one way, shape, or form. And that's how we do it. And we will take this number, whatever it may be, like there's 0 mill rate, and we make sure that that is somewhere in the budget so that we can cross-reference it back and forth. And so it became like kind of like our checklist in a basic way. Which told me, at the end of the day, it got into the really nitty gritty, into the 100-foot level things. I mean, there's items in here that are all the way down to naming a park to the bathroom to the, maybe even that it's gonna be concrete or whatever, a pre-structured building. And so those are operational items that we kind of need to figure out, and how we are going to perform those, which aren't necessarily goals or initiatives. Those are the operational side of how we figure out how we're going to get to those goals. If you would like to have park improvements at Nuncomb or at Nunley or Wonderland or Detter Park or wherever the cases may be. And so that is where that information would live within the actual department budgets or capital improvement projects, or information in regards to the backside of the budget book. Is that everything? I think it was everything we discussed, sorry.
Yeah, so to kind of reiterate what Cassie's talked about, the process, of course, is that we bring the budget through the mayor's direction. And so we're looking for the council to review the goals and initiatives in that high level state. And then, as she alluded to in the schedule, the time to add earmarks basically, or special additions to the budget, is not in this document. It is later in April when we've already brought the budget, because the budget is a product of the mayor. We work for the administration. And so if there's a project that you want the mayor to know about, that's definitely you should have that communication with the mayor, but it is not this document structure to tell administration what to put in the budget. So that's different for the last couple of years, but we think it's very important so that the high level leadership that the council provides is housed in the right document. Because from our position, this is the council's document, and that means that it stays very high level and then works through the mayor down through the administration. So that's why you see a very different structure this year. So, unless there's some questions, we'd like to review the goals, the 5 goals and the subsections within them with the council, and take notes on, if there's modifications.
Mr. Grove?
Thank you. Thank you for your overview there. I'm trying to do something different, but part of the reason that we have this format, and part of the reason this format has worked for the 20 plus years that I've lived in the city, is because the council members are typically the ones that are most responsive to our citizens when they say, hey, we need to work on the park. This is why. How can we make it work? So the council, just like we went to AML and talked to other governments from around the state, we talked to them about their problems. How did they make it work? What did they try? What worked? What didn't work? That sort of thing. And then we bring that forward. If we don't have that discussion prior to the budget time, all we're doing is we're just kicking the can down the road, and the budget part of it is a very short time frame. What this process has done in the past, and like I say, for as long as I've lived here in the city, what this process has done in the past has allowed the mayor, as the chief executive, to be able to put together a budget which addresses specific issues that the citizens want to see. And goals, need to be specific, they need to be measurable, there needs to be some sort of timing associated with them. We can say, well, the goal is to put a new bathroom at Carter Park, and the timing on that is gonna be sometime in the next 2 fiscal years, because maybe it's a project that takes longer or whatever, but I mean, what we're looking at here, is something that is just pushing the budget process towards the end. And you can remember last year, when did we approve the budget? The day before it had to be at the borough or something like that. This is kind of dangerous to say, well, we don't want to talk about specifics, because how are you going to build your budget and put your budget forward to the mayor if you don't know what specifics the city council is looking for? So I support the idea of coming up with something that's a better way of doing things, but let's not forget, that we're here to accomplish items to make things better in the eyes of the citizens. Just because we think it's better doesn't make it better. Doesn't make it better. You know, I mean, I get, I don't know, probably at least 8 phone calls a week. Sometimes I get a couple dozen phone calls a week from people talking about specific things. And a lot of it can be handled, and it's not a big deal, but a lot of it is long-term budgeting sort of stuff. And without the ability to speak to the directors and say, you know, we want to see these things built into the budget. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be a goal, but we want to see these things built into the budget and bring forward a number so that we can say, yeah, we want, you know, additional, you know, speed enforcement items going on. Well, yeah, we want, you know, Opticons and police cars. We want these things. So if we don't tell you about those, they're not in your budget and they're not in the mayor's budget, and therefore the budget process gets gummed up right at the end of the budget process. So I'm interested to see how this goes, but I'm in no hurry to rush through this just to say that we've done it. You know, perhaps the budgeting process needs to have this 30,000 foot level, this goals and initiative talk, but you know, a lot of the goals that I've read through are, you know, not real specific goals, and I'm not sure I would even call them goals. But I'm interested to see how this works and to have that discussion, but to say the city council has no say in things is a complete misconception of how things are gonna work here in the city of West Omaha.
I'm not saying they have no say. What I'm saying is council's not to direct staff. And what you're alluding to is staff, I expect to see my project in the budget. That's through the mayor as the city manager. And so that's the conversation that needs to just, the process needs to follow that approval.
And that process is through the city council meeting. The mayor, we have that discussion here, and then the mayor tells you to work on it.
If it's her priority, absolutely.
Even
That's
if
what
it's
I'm
not
saying.
her priority, if the council makes it a priority, it is the priority.
Mr. Graham, Jamie.
I think it's important that we all maintain decorum and this does not turn in, I think we're just already not on, so let's maybe bring our comments through the chair. We may have differing of opinions. We don't have to tit for tat every differing of opinion. I respect, I'm not respecting what everybody is saying, but I think the importance as we start this meeting off, although we're in committee of the whole, if we can remember to direct both staff and the council comments through the chair, I think we'll all be in a better place at the end.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I see where both sides are on with this one, where it's kind of like the budget. When the budget is initially brought forward, because it's the administration that's bringing it forward to the council, the budget is going to reflect the mayor's position a little bit more. And I feel this document somewhat does the exact same thing, where the initial document is going to reflect more of the mayor's point of view. And I think this is a great time where we as a council get to come together and say, hey, these are also priorities of the city. This is not just these are priorities of the mayor. These are priorities of the city. You know, citizens come to us and say, hey, this is important to me. And I say, great, let me help you with that. Here's how I can put this together for you, and this is where we do that. So when we do get to the budget, we don't have to then fight over dollars, because we can take a bigger view of everything that needs to get done and then prioritize those things, instead of us getting to the budget season and the council going, well, I want this done and I want that done. And the administration goes, well, I'm sorry, but we don't have any time. We're doing everything that the mayor's doing. To me, this helps us get a better budget and a better finished project. So I would say this would be a great time that we could look at this and say, hey, these are some items that we want to achieve. as well. I mean, do we need that 100-foot view? Probably not. I agree with, I think it was Cassie that said it, that we're looking at a 30,000-foot view still. I think, again, this is the time that we should be having those conversations.
Eric?
The mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I understand where Stu's coming from. In my training, by the way, just so that I can tell you about my sheepskin on the wall, okay, I went to MIT. Everybody knows what MIT is, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for managed school of management. Okay, that's my sheepskin on the wall, okay? When I talk about goals and budgets, the first thing that they told us at a high level, the 30,000 foot, is it has to be actionable. If I have just a goal that says create a good public, provide continued support for citizens with the highest quality service. What, you mean to tell me the city's gonna give us low quality service? Well, that's not really actionable. Okay, so you have the 4 actions underneath it. So the first one is really good. Develop a conceptual plan. That's actual. Okay, good one on that one. Allocate funding necessary for the preservation and cleanup of parks, blah, 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 blah. That means if I sweep the sidewalks, I've done that? No. Okay, I need to have, I want to give direction at a slightly lower level than that to say is what I really want with the parks is I would really like to see a refurbishment of the playgrounds. I'd like to see the beach areas cleaned up and fixed. That means going to the state or whatever it is that we need to do to get the beach area fixed at that kind of a level. Now, what you want to do and how you want to specifically action that, that's going to be up to you to determine the budget and the plan to do so. But that's the kind of level that I think that we ought to be talking about so that you can then put a budget in place to action those kind of things. Thank you.
Eric?
I think that's a great spot to build on. So unless there's any objection, I think what we should do is start going through the first goal and see if there's tweaks and if there's, specific languages that need to be added. So I'm not a huge fan of public reading, so I don't know if you want me to read the goal or if we want to have it up on the board. Kind of up to the mayor.
Eric, the clerk will read.
Does the council want them read aloud? Yes, no.
Madam Mayor, can I say something real quick?
Yes.
So I just really kind of want to remind everybody that we need to respect both the administration and the council's point of view. And I understand where it's all coming from, but we need to work together as a team. So take a deep breath, relax. Let's get this done together.
And may I add something, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just may along those lines. Well said, Councilmember Rubio. It's both sides. At the end of the day, we are a team. I recognize it's the mayor's budget that comes forward. This is just my 2 cents. But if after the second public hearing closes and we're not semi on the same page, we are gonna be processing 100 amendments that frankly are gonna likely pass with 4 votes. And so that doesn't help anybody, right? So I think we're a team. We wanna come together, respecting the position of our elected manager. Granted, it is the elected manager's budget to come forward, but if we don't come together as a team, the 100 amendments, and I've seen them. I have seen 150 to 200 amendments, and that doesn't benefit anybody. So I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you.
Well, I understand that this is a total new process than has ever been done. And all of you know that when the MPO was set up and whatever, the federal government said, you are now urban. With that, and with the growth of this city, then there's gonna be changes. whether I'm here or whoever is here, there's gonna be changes. So, when we got to looking at, we went back and looked at this table. Nobody ever goes to that table and looks at anything except our CFO and the directors trying to build a budget. So, all I'm saying is, you guys need to at least give this a chance. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater before you've washed the baby. So, give it a chance. Look at it. We haven't even got to the first goal, and yous are all ready to throw it out without even giving it a chance. This is new. I get it. I don't like change either. I'm old. I want to do things like I've always done. But folks, I'm telling you, this city's a growing in leaps and bounds. You all know that. And with that has got to be change. So, we can either stay in the past or we can move forward. And if we don't move forward, we die. So, all I'm saying is give it a chance. Madam Clerk. Oh, Kathy.
Madam Mayor, I understand this is a new process for all of us, which is fine. But what is the process if there is something in the basically the drop downs of the numbering under the goals that we don't agree with and don't want in there? What is the process? I mean, how do we can all, I mean, we should all be adults and we can agree to disagree. And there's gonna be things in here that not everybody's gonna agree with, but, so what is this process that we can discuss and talk about if there's something that we don't agree with in here?
Through the mayor, I think the structure we've had in the past where a proposal for a change is made and it goes through the, I suppose the second, is there a second and then I guess I'm looking to the clerk on kind of how we have adopted changes in the past. It's kind of a friendly amendment sort of system and it's recorded by Ashley here, is what I understand.
Well, thank you, Eric. Through the chair to the council, what we've done in the past is similar to Title 16. So we're in committee of the whole. Technically, no formal action can be taken in committee of the whole. So we're trying to build consensus. We all want to work together. If you remember, what happens is this document actually comes back to you typically the first meeting in January. At that time, it is an actionable item. It's an AM. And you do have the opportunity to amend it. Now, with that being said, at least during my tenure, we've never amended it because we've been able to come to consensus here as a body. It's not to say you couldn't amend it. So does that help?
Through the mayor. It does. I just want to make sure that I'm on the right page. If take goal number one. If it's a goal that I don't agree with, I want to be able to discuss it here. I know we can't take action in committee of the whole, but I would like to be able, to discuss it and for us to all discuss things level-headedly, for all of us. But I think it's important, I just want to make sure that this is still our process, since this is a whole new thing for us, pretty much.
And through the chair to the council now, once you're out of committee of the whole, if we're not getting consensus, you can give direction, you can take action. But the real goal is to, but this document does come back, that formality, in January. It's on an agenda, it's noticed, it's adopted through the AM process, and like any other AM resolution ordinance, it's up for debate again and amendment.
Okay. Jenny, you want to read the first goal?
Thank you. First goal is quality of life. Continue to provide citizens with the highest quality of service in the most efficient and effective manner that ensures a safe and thriving community. Goal number one. Do you want to start with the first, I guess, is an initiative, I guess? Develop a conceptual plan and funding source for a new city hall.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor?
Oh, Eric can go ahead.
Ian.
I'm sorry. Been a long day.
Apparently we sound the same, Eric. Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious because I remember last year, I believe I was the one that had pushed to have a new city hall put on here. And what we ended up doing in the budget was having a feasibility study done on our current city hall to determine where we're at with the current building, if it was better to look at whether it be a new building we build, or if we're going to purchase another building, or we're just going to continue putting money into this one and upgrade it and make sure it's still a good functioning city hall. Do we have an answer as to where that's at? Because again, I'm up for considering this, but if it's for keeping the current building, I don't see a reason to have this on here.
Eric?
Through the mayor. Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilman Crafton. So we have signed an agreement with Wolf Architects, and so they're doing that assessment now. So we've started the mapping process. So we'll have some more information in the next couple weeks as they pull that data in, and we have more information to share. So that's in the midst of it right now.
Thank you. Can I continue, Mayor?
Yes.
Do we know, and through the mayor to Eric here, will we have an answer before we pass this as an actual document in January?
Before we see this again in late January, I will definitely have updates for you. I don't know if we'll have a finished document, but we will definitely be working so that we have answers as soon as possible within the budget process.
Okay. And I would probably say, just in my thought, to me, I know new city hall thinks we're going to build a building. In my eyes, and I don't know how the rest of the council feels, to me, new city hall just means not this building that we're currently in. So I feel like this might be one we need to consider in January when we have some more information, unless we just want to remove it in its entirety right now.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Kathy?
Yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about this was the same thing that Councilman Crafton mentioned, is that we had asked for a feasibility study. And until we have that, I personally don't want to see this on here. And that's my opinion, and the rest of the council. And I know this is a priority for the mayor, and that's fine. It's not a priority for me until we have a feasibility study. So that's my opinion on it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'll tag on to that just because I agree. We spent money on that, and we allocated funds just to see where we're at with everything. And so when we get those answers, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Number 2. Oh, Mr. Gray, sorry.
Thank you. So I'm going to agree with the things that have been said, and think that right here with the initiative number 1 here, we're getting the cart ahead of the horse. We don't have the information about is the city's current real estate plan for managers and such, is it effective? We don't have information about what would it cost to repair this building, what would it cost to lease new space, what would it cost to build new space. So I don't believe this initiative belongs under goal number 1 or anywhere in the budget process.
So,
Madam Mayor?
so I'm hearing 4 votes to strike, 4 in favor at least of striking
May I
it.
speak?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian. Do I have the floor?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to speak in opposition. I believe that we should be continually looking at what our options are, okay? Whether it is to stay here or find another building. And I think that keeping our planning process open to a move of the city hall, not necessarily a brand new building, we should be continually exploring that, what could better provide services for our citizens. That doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily jump, and I certainly wouldn't necessarily jump until the feasibility study is there. However, if an opportunity was to come knocking on our door, and I know that there are 2, I think that we shouldn't eliminate this as a goal just because we haven't followed a serial process. At this point, I don't see that we're putting any money into it, but I think that it should be a goal that we keep in terms of a plan, okay? I'm not necessarily allocating funding other than the architectural study of the existing building. But I would want to see this as a continual goal for planning. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor.
Nikki?
Councilmember Rubio mentioned that we did, I believe, put money in the budget for this year for the feasibility study. And we really haven't done that yet, is that correct? It hasn't really happened?
Mayor, so we're using that funding right now with the architects.
Oh, good, okay.
We just don't have a document for you yet.
Okay, so it is in process. And I agree with Councilmember Johnson that maybe this should stay as a goal, but maybe reworded a little bit instead of just a new city hall, but just stay as a goal, because we do need to keep this top of mind.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. That's where I was going as well with what Ms. Velock said. I think we need to change the wording on this one. If the council, if the rest of the body is okay with it, I would probably say leave part of it, but develop a conceptual plan and funding sources for updating our current city hall or a new city hall based on the feasibility. That's how I would it would be. So it leaves both open, and if we have answers from the feasibility study come January, then we could probably just go in and amend this one based on how the feasibility study comes out for us at that point.
Okay. Yes.
Can I maybe make a friendly amendment to Mr. Crafton's comments? What if we said something to the effect of develop a conceptual plan and funding sources for possible upgrades or relocation of City Hall?
Sounds good to me.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Gray?
So if we skip forward here to goal number 4, it talks about infrastructure. Goal number 1 talks about quality of life. This is not a quality of life issue. This is an infrastructure. This is purely an infrastructure issue. I mean, let's move this thing to goal number 4 if we're going to discuss it.
Strike it, can't we, or move it? No, I think it was, Madam Mayor. I do agree, that's what I was looking at, it is the infrastructure, it is, that's whether we use what we, existing or new or old, new, whatever it is. I think we need to strike it here and move it to goal 4. And then reevaluate it, but I think how Eric is presenting it, I think is great, but can we just take it and move it to goal 4? Can we get a second, maybe? I don't know.
Or just, is it the consensus of the council?
I don't know.
That
I would agree with
like the idea of
Councilperson Rubio.
leaving it in here.
Ian?
I like the idea of moving it to 4 and leaving it in here how Eric had worded.
So the word, you want me to repeat the wording?
Yes, please.
New wording is develop a conceptual plan and funding sources for possible upgrades or relocation of City Hall.
Do you want to put in there depending on the feasibility study, or leave it out? Well, you know what's going to happen there, so, anyway. Okay.
Should we wait for Miss Ashley? I don't want to get ahead of her.
Okay, hang on. Let Ashley get.
And that's the other thing.
Because I feel like it's prioritizing. makes you think that's goal number one? Under goal. It is goal number one. So can we just make it number one?
How about we deal with numbering and all that
Yeah.
when we bring forward the
Yeah.
final document?
Yeah, just move whatever you
Actually, I
need to and leave the
understand.
numbers.
Yeah.
Let them flow with them.
Okay, may I continue, Madam
Yes.
Mayor? Next, allocate, this is under goal number one, quality of life, the header. Allocate the necessary funding annually for the preservation and cleanup of lakes and waterways within the city, exploring opportunities to enhance recreational activities in city parks.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Johnson?
rather than the word preservation, I would like to say refurbishment.
And through the mayor, this was just borrowed from the last document, so any changes make sense, yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, I have a question, and educate me. How do you refurbish a lake or a waterway?
Well, it's the playground equipment gets refurbished.
Right,
You're talking
but
about,
the preservation and cleanup of lakes and waterways within the city,
Comma.
and
I
then,
see what you're saying, yeah.
see what I'm saying?
I was taking that to be parks. Because it says activity and enhance recreational activities in the parks. So I was interpreting that to be really applying to the parks. Because we don't really clean up lakes and waterways, we clean up parks.
We clean up a lake every summer. We have a weed,
Ooh, that's right, we do.
yeah, we have a weed thingy, whatever you call it. A weed harvester.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
thank you. I feel like everything after the comma is a separate item. So it's talking about preservation and cleanup of lakes and waterways, and then we talk about enhancing recreational activities. I just feel like it's within the city, period, and then the next item should be explore opportunities to enhance recreational activities in the parks. I feel like those are two separate items.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Number one, I agree with Mr. Crafton. I would suggest that we take everything following the comma and move it down to initiative number 4 under goal number 1, because that fits with all that sort of stuff there. But here we're talking about allocate the necessary funding annually. So to me, that means you need to develop a long-term plan and have a plan, a sustainable plan to fund that. What we're dealing with here is not a multi-year budget. We're dealing with a one-year budget. So allocating that funding annually doesn't really apply unless we're going to say we're going to develop a long-term plan for the cleanup of lakes and waterways within the city and develop a sustainable funding plan for that. And if that plan is there, then it would get funded.
Okay, there's, under goal, number 2, it says allocate necessary resources and funding to update citywide plans. What am I at? Hazard mitigation, never mind. When it said water and wastewater, but that don't pertain to the lakes, or it shouldn't.
Let's hope not.
Not yet.
Okay, I just seen water, so my ADDs are kicking in.
Yeah, so there were two things there. Number one was to move part of that sentence to initiative number 4. After the comma, exploring opportunities to enhance recreational activities in city parks seems to fit better under initiative number 4. where we're talking about promoting the use of the parks, museum, public spaces. That seems to fit with initiative number 4. And then, you know, allocating the funding for projects. What are those projects? Or are we gonna develop a long-term plan, which has some measurable goals in it that we can chase?
Eric, help me, did I not read in here, or maybe, Cassie, about we were going to, the Parks and Rec, Scott, maybe you can help me.
I think. goal
Please,
one,
Mike,
item
no.
3.
Come up here,
You need
please.
to come up.
Sorry.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yous all get ready to travel, because when I ask a question.
Leaning on the wall too much.
Didn't we have a discussion about, we needed to update our Parks and Rec and Trails and plan?
Yeah, go to item 3, last 2 sentences. Review, update, and implement the Parks and Trails Master Plan as it serves as a long-range vision for the future development and programming.
What number?
Goal 1, number 3.
It's number 4 in there.
Number 4.
Oh,
Far in
sorry.
your paper.
On the TV, sorry. Is that what you were
Yes.
trying to get to?
Yeah,
So I think kind of like Councilmember Crafton mentioned, on the screen, goal 1, item 1, take the last part off, that becomes part of 3. It almost is redundant at that point.
And maybe something to consider is, do we want to talk about the lakes? You know what I mean? Is that a goal? We do harvest the weeds. That's something that's very important to the residents of Lake Lucille. Other than putting some buoys out on Wasilla Lake, we don't really have an active process to preserve and clean up the lakes and waterways. So if that's something that we would need to initiate, right, and get more specifics on what we want. But if that's not something the council wants, we could save that spot. We could strike that and then maybe break the last one, which is pretty long, promote the city's parks. Maybe we break that into 2 more detailed, just an option.
Mr. Graham,
Thank you. I don't think there's any question that the council is interested in cleaning up our lakes and waterways. I mean, we've been working on that for years, individually as a city and through grants available from state and federal sources. There were projects last year, there were projects the last several years, but there's not a plan. Maybe what we need to look at is, there's lots of environmental engineering companies out there, and there's lots of, NGOs out there that work specifically with this sort of stuff. I mean, we are a small town, we're spending $50 million a year, but we're a town of 10,000 people. Let's face it, we're a small town. We don't have necessarily the technical expertise to do things, but we do have the funding to be able to go out and touch people who do have that expertise. So maybe what we need to do is make it an initiative to develop that plan and then work on it. Maybe the goal for the year or the initiative for the year is to develop and agree on a plan, much like the comprehensive plan, much like Title 16, much like this Parks and Recreation Trails Master Plan, much like the Airport Master Plan. Maybe that's where the goal needs to be. Maybe that's where the initiative needs to be, is to develop that plan, and then every year we hack away at it. It doesn't mean we don't do anything this year, we continue with the projects like we've had, replacing sewer systems along the lake. I mean, that's definitely helping clean up the lake, when we have septic tanks that are not functioning properly. you know, but I think the goal needs to be a long-term thing, and I think we need to reach outside our, you know, expertise to do that, to draw others into that sphere of communication to make that happen.
Eric?
Through the mayor, would you support modifying that first sentence to say, develop a plan to preserve and clean up lakes and waterways within the city? That would be the goal, is to develop the plan that does that. And then we'll drop the other sentence out the bottom like we talked about. But what's on paper, number 2, which is on the screen, number 1, would say, develop a plan to preserve and clean up lakes and waterways within the city.
Madam Mayor, can we add master plan in there?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I think we should leave in the words, allocate the necessary funding
Right.
to develop a master plan.
Madam Mayor, just gonna say, I like the teamwork, you guys. Keep it up.
I told you old people don't like change. Me and Stu's old,
Just a number, guys.
Getting older every day
every day.
so far.
I know.
You just read what you're reading.
Okay.
So allocate the necessary funding to develop a master plan to clean up lakes and waterways within the city.
Okay. Okay, we are on to number 3. Assign the necessary, I'm sorry, Jamie, read.
Oh, no, you can, Madam Mayor. if
No,
you
go
want.
ahead.
Assign the necessary funding for the land bank, enabling the city to acquire land strategically and enhance the quality of life for Westilla residents.
Thank you, Scott.
I'm gonna hang out for number 3, if that's
Okay.
okay, for the next one.
Just hang out. Okay, anybody got Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So my question would be, what is the land bank? What is the balance of funding in the land bank? And have we used a land bank in the past, or have we just determined that we need to go out, like in the case of the Menard Center, we needed to go out and we needed to buy that property, and we went out and
No, we've had a land bank.
and acquired that. So I'm just not familiar with the funding available in the land bank. Are we talking about putting additional funding into the land bank? And if so, I'd like to be a little bit more specific about what it is that we're trying to do. Are we trying to expand the footprint of the Menard Center? Are we trying to buy more parking downtown? What is it that we're trying to do with the land bank?
Through the mayor, Councilman Graham, it currently has, at the end of the fiscal year, it had roughly about $960,000 sitting in it. That currently, that amount sits in our assigned fund balance as the land bank purchase. It is currently being designated for land acquisition that the city requests us to buy. It does not have any other purpose besides land acquisition. In the last about 5 to 6 years, it's been roughly about $50,000 to $100,000 was the actual number that was put into the goals and initiative. And so every year we've been putting money into the land bank for that purpose.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
So within the land bank then we had a meeting not long ago talking about airport expansion and buying the land associated. So would the land bank money be used for that particular acquisition? Is that the idea?
Through the mayor, Councilman Johnson, yes, that would be the purpose of that land bank. So we actually have currently state funding that we have for land acquisition, and then we also have Last year, the adopted budget has a rate appropriation of $200,000 for land acquisition in the airport fund, and then the land bank would also be another option for us to use in order to purchase those lands.
So follow-on question, maybe we could just simply put a such as, just as an example, to tie our memory back as to what we were talking about, things like airport expansion and or Menards or whatever, just a dot, dot, dot kind, so it'll tell us something about the goal as far as what the action associated with it would be.
In the sewer plant.
Well, and that was, I was gonna say, that was the actual last land acquisition that was purchased, was the, I don't know how many acres that is, but it's that land off of Omat Road that we purchased in 2023, I believe, was when that was purchased.
Okay. Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So just looking at how money moves within the city, so the state gives us a grant for airport expansion. Part of that is to acquire land and part of it is to improve the land. Should that money be moved, the part that's gonna be used for the acquisition of land, should that be moved into the land bank and then allocated for those purchases, or are we just gonna maintain those things separately? I mean, they're kind of, when grant funds are spent, we really don't see how they're spent, but if it goes in and out of the land bank, you know, I mean, if it's a $4.5 million grant, you know, and $850,000 of it is for land acquisition, shouldn't that be funneled through the land bank?
Madam Mayor, point of order.
Mr. Graham, we are talking about goals, not about how we are moving money from point A to point B. Right now, we are concentrating on goals and initiatives. So, okay, Eric?
If I could just maybe bring some perspective on this, I think the land bank discussion here, as it relates back to quality of life, would be purchases that, in my mind, come to, you know, if there's a new park or if there's new public access, or because what we're talking about with like the airport as the example and the sewer treatment plant, those are project specific, right? And so we need those for infrastructure, and so they fit very well under goal 4. But I think when, I'm just assuming because I don't have like the creation documents for when the land bank was made, but I'm envisioning that when the land bank was devised, it was a way to save for the purchase of recreational related purchases when we know that it's hard to fund parks, and if you have the opportunity, especially like if there's actually, let me think back. My understanding, the way we got Bumpus Ball Fields was there was a benefactor and there was an arrangement with the landowner that had a huge tract of land and they wanted to see that recreational activity happen. And parks don't typically carry a lot of CIP money. They're very specific. Let's put a new playground in at this park, and then the CIP is funded. And so to kind of pre-fund small chunks at a time, the future purchase of a property that is valuable to the community, then you can look back and say, yeah, we've done a good job of funding this land bank. We have what we need to now seize this opportunity to purchase a piece of property for the public good. And so I think that's kind of what it's pointing to, is that we can manage through the CIP process to get infrastructure lands, but this is a nod to knowing that the recreational side of operations is going to typically need more money than operating budget will allow. So that's how I look at it. Is this a goal for the council today to say that you still want to save money in the land bank to purchase recreational related properties in the future?
Madam Mayor?
Kathy?
Through the mayor to Eric, and thank you for explaining it that way. If the goal of the land bank was kind of established for picking up recreational properties and things like that, it would fit under quality of life goals then, and I would like to see it say recreational land in that, instead of just saying to acquire land, I would like it to say recreational land.
Perhaps we should do some research so we really know the intent. Because I've seen us purchase a lot of things besides recreational.
Yeah. From the land bank?
Madam Mayor.
Ian?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to see the research done as well. I'm kind of curious to see what the original intent was. I will say I trust Kathy's knowledge on this one, but I'd still be curious for it. My thought on this is there's no number attached to this. Kind of like I did with our, in this case here, it's on page 6. How we set a benchmark for $500,000 of annual road maintenance after we complete all of the rest of the roads that we're going paving them. I don't know what the number would be, but if we're going to be continuously saving so that when land comes available, we need to have a significant amount of money in this account at that time. So I feel like what would need to be done here is a number put in here each time, so every year we're saving a little bit more money instead of us going, oh look, there's a piece of land here and we're going to need to pull into the general fund because we don't have enough money in the land bank. I mean, at that point, we just don't even need the land bank. We're just going to buy things when they come along. So I feel like there could be a number attached to this. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we do that at budget time. Should we not be putting numbers in goals and initiatives?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the goal is to assign. Okay. Mr. Graham?
Councilperson Cottle talked about to acquire recreational land strategically. Is that kind of the funding, or is that kind of the wording you were looking at there?
Yes.
That was, that was my wording, going in with the way that Eric had described his, basically his knowledge or his interpretation of that. But I would like us to, before we do anything else with that, as the clerk suggested, that we do the research on what the original intent of that land bank was. And I don't think any of us have that in front of us or have that knowledge. So I think we should do that before we make any more changes to that.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, we are moving on to number 4. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Promote the use of the city's parks, museum, and library to foster cultural, recreational programs and events. Enhance the park experience by introducing new recreational equipment that appeals to all ages. Review, update, and implement the Parks and Trails Master Plan as it serves as a long-range vision for the future development and programming.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Johnson.
this is where I would like to say refurbishment. Thank you. So, enhance the park experience by refurbishment and or including or introducing new recreational equipment.
Okay. Mr. Graham.
I'm concerned on the second line there when it talks about enhance the park experience. My concern is that we're only talking about parks when we have trails and other things where recreational equipment would be appropriate. For instance, the trail at the Menard Center, having some exercise equipment there, some exercise stations there along that trail. That's not a park, so I'm just, maybe I'm concerned about nothing, but I don't want to exclude things because they're not parks.
You can, Madam Mayor, sorry. You can go enhance the park and trails
Perfect.
experience by refurbishing and introducing new recreational equipment that appeals to all ages. Review and update, implement parks.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Okay. Only took us an hour to get through 4 goals, one goal. If that be the case, we'll be here in June. Okay, goal number 2.
Madam Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ian.
that's okay. I was waiting to finish that one because I wanted to start from the topic.
Uh,
This one,
Wait a minute, I did not understand a thing you said because it's garbled.
that's okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. What I wanted to say was not pertaining to that line item, but I feel like it will pertain to quality of life. I could also understand that it would fall under infrastructure, so I'm just going to say it now. I know a conversation piece that has come across the council a few times is the Menard Center and the services that it offers. Do we have anything, maybe I'm missing it, but is there anything about improving the quality of life for the services offered at the Menard Center, seeing what, essentially a feasibility study at the Menard Center?
Scott will be right back.
Through the mayor to Councilman Crafton. So we don't have it in here specifically. I know we've had discussions about the use of the facility, how we're at capacity in many, many ways, and we seem to be growing at rates no one ever could have anticipated. And so, yes, I think having a feasibility study, so it has not been funded, so it can be something we can bring forth in the budget cycle, but as a goal, certainly you can add it here to look at how to expand the facility or to consider expanding the facility through a feasibility study. So I think it's a great item to add, and then it would follow then in the budget cycle, unless you'd like me to bring forth costs for a feasibility study and you can fund it if I bring it forward at that time.
Are you okay with that, Ian?
Yeah, just to clarify, basically bringing cost at a later date during budget, not worrying about putting it in here. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it's actually would be 2-part. I think you do put it in here to look at kind of, as you have here, to allocate resources for doing a feasibility study for potential future needs and programming or whatever at the Menard Center. And then with that as a goal, I can bring forth costs to do the feasibility study now or after this part passes, or we can wait for the budget cycle and then I can start a feasibility study, that component, come July 1, new fiscal year. So at the council's discretion, I think.
I mean, I like the idea of adding it. When, I think, is an administration thing. That's between you and the mayor at that point. But I would like to see something, just because the Menard Center is a large facility, and it's something that we definitely need to make sure we're keeping tabs on our plans with that one. So it's almost like feasibility master plan type thing. We like master plans, apparently. And just planning for the future of the Menard Center. I know that there was originally plans for the future, but it seems that we have not implemented those plans from what I've seen.
For the Menard Center.
It's for the Menard Center, not at. Yeah. Thanks.
And would you suggest for allocate funding to feasibility study for the potential development or growth or additional phases? Some more specific wording there, I think would make more sense.
Do you want to repeat that?
For the potential
I
growth.
think I remember
Allocate
what I said.
funding for a feasible, for a feasible.
The potential growth, expansion,
Potential growth, comma, expansion,
of the Menard Sport and Ed Sports Center in there.
Read it off to me, all wordsmithing over there. I hear it.
I don't think we need the word potential. It's already out of its bounds.
For growth, for the growth or expansion of.
Okay, is everybody good with that?
And expansion.
All right.
Could you read it off to me, please? I can't see it.
Allocate funding to do a feasibility study for the potential growth or expansion of the Menard Sports Center.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, Madam Clerk, goal number 2.
Okay, we're on to 2. Communications, engagement, and customer service. Prioritize effectiveness and customer reach to improve engagement, build trust, and foster cohesion. Goal number 2.
Okay. Do the first, right here.
We're good with that? First goal, or first initiative under that is to allocate necessary resources and funding to update citywide plans, which are the, in parentheses, comprehensive plan, downtown plan, water wastewater plan, comprehensive economic development strategy, hazard mitigation plan, etc., ensuring the city remains well prepared for future growth and development.
Madam Mayor.
Ian,
Thank you, Mayor. And I think this might end up going to a director. I'm not sure who, or if Crystal's there. I don't see her on the screen. So some of these we've already worked on, some of these plans, and some of them are in process. I feel like if we're going to put this in here, we should be saying these are the plans that we're working on in the coming year, specifically. So I believe we completed the SEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. I feel like that should be taken out. Same with the Hazard Mitigation Plan. We just finished updating that one. And then comprehensive is in the process. We could leave it in there since it's in process. But I feel like if we're going to list any plans in here, we should say, hey, these are the plans that we're working on this year, just so people aren't going, hey, are you working on this plan? And it's like, no, it's, you know, that's next year type of thing. So I would be up for leaving the comprehensive. I don't know if we're going to be working on the downtown plan in the coming year. I don't know if we had a goal or plan for it. And then water, wastewater plan as well would be what I would see in here.
Crystal, you want to come and speak to the SEDS? Because it's my understanding that we work on them all the time.
Yeah, so the comp plan will be updated this year. The downtown plan is part of that comp plan. The water wastewater plan is being driven by Public Works, who's working with DEC on updating our master water wastewater plan. The SEDS has to be updated every year, but it actually has to get a full overhaul every 5 years. So we still have 4 years on that, and the hazardous mitigation plan has 2 more years. So this is really to have the plans necessary, so if we go to apply for a grant, we have the necessary documentation.
Eric,
I think to add to what Mr. Crafton was saying, maybe we make it more clear that we say allocate necessary resources and funding to update and the word just fell out of my head. update and
Implement.
thank you, the plan. So if we haven't started it, we need to get it built. And like the SEDS, we have it, but we're supposed to do the yearly things with them, and the same with the hazard mitigation. So it doesn't sit on a shelf. We build it and then we implement it. So I think that action word implement is probably what we need to add here to be why it's important this year and next year and the year after that.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Rubio.
can we add the strategic plan in there then, too? And just, I know you said the downtown plan is part of the comprehensive plan, what is that?
The downtown overlay,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was called the downtown plan.
that was the genesis of a lot of things.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, real quick,
Mr. Crafton.
thank you, Mayor. I want to be specific about it because the way that this reads to me, and maybe that's just my reading, by having them in parentheses, it just says these are the plans that it might include, and that's why the word header is. We're just kind of referencing these are what they might be. I like what Eric said about the word implement. So I'd almost think it should read allocate necessary resources and funding to update and implement citywide plans, ensuring the city remains well prepared for growth and development, comma, the plans to include, and then we list off the plans that we're working on at the time.
I don't think it matters more.
It works either way.
It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Did you guys wanna add, you said strategic plan?
Yeah,
Is that added?
yeah.
Want to add, Ms. Rubio, you wanting to add the strategic plan?
Yes, please, thanks. I thought
Okay.
it was.
Okay. All right, is everybody okay with that? Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Graham?
Yeah, and, I look at the goal itself, engagement and customer service, and then we're talking about the city remains well prepared for future growth and development, which has certainly been a emphasis for your administration. But I think if we're engaging our people down there, for instance, the downtown district, they have some things that want to be preserved, as opposed to just leveling it, and because that would be best for growth and development. I'm not sure what words I'm looking for. Maybe Eric can help me out here. But we want to be well prepared for future growth and development and preserve the character of our city at the same time. I mean, are we trying to build a new city, or are we trying to enhance what we have? I just don't want somebody to read this and think we're all about growth and development. We are about growth and development, but we're also about preserving the character of our city for the citizens as well.
Ensuring the city remains well prepared for future growth and development while maintaining, okay, what's the word?
Character.
Connection to our past.
Connections to our past.
Very good.
Thanks, Thane.
Preserving our heritage.
Connections to our past.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That work?
Teamwork. Makes the.
Teamwork's the dream work. Here we go.
Mayor, can we take a potty break?
Okay, we will take a 5-minute recess. You better hurry.
She asked.
You better run, Mr. Johnson. wait, is everybody back? Oh, Eric's not.
I'm ready.
Oh. We're back on the record at 7:27. And, Ashley, I'd like to go back to the well-prepared growth and development while maintaining our history and culture.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you, Bethany.
Yes, ma'am.
Next time, raise your hand. Okay, number 2.
Okay, enhance public access to electronic services by expanding options for online forms, payments, interactive maps, permitting processes, social media engagement, and other digital communication platforms. These services will be designed to scale based on user demand and implemented following the best cost-effective practices. Leveraging an enterprise resource planning ERP system, the city aims to streamline operations, improve service delivery, and optimize overall efficiency. Embracing innovative technology is crucial for driving the city's growth, improving accessibility, and ensuring long-term success. It's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Okay, do we need, because we are already implementing the ERP system.
Yeah. Madam Mayor,
Mr. Johnson,
just from a goal, I don't really like the word enhance because it doesn't really mean a whole lot. However, if you say implement, that does cover the fact that we have not implemented the ERP system, and everything else that you've got in there still lacks implementation.
right? Cool. Mr. Graham,
So, some of this stuff I see is kind of staff report stuff. I mean, it doesn't really belong in the goal, where we talk about, leveraging an enterprise resource planning system. So sounds like we're gonna change that to leverage, or implement an ERP system. But this part of it here where the city aims to streamline operations and all, that's kind of staff report stuff. And the sentence following that is kind of staff report stuff. I would say just take, the final sentence out and take anything following the comma after ERP system out, because that's just kind of explanation of why we're doing it. It's not defining the goal.
yep, I agree with you, Mr. Graham, believe it or not.
Speaking of the mic when you said it.
No,
Action move to expanding. So we do an action. We're expanding.
right. Should we take that out?
No, I think Mr. Johnson wants actionable words and we have
Oh,
expanding options.
Expanding, Mr. Johnson,
Is our actionable word?
yes,
It works.
okay. We good with that? Okay. Moving on, number 3, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Centralized communications channel to effectively build a strong brand, image, and consistent messaging to residents, businesses, and employees through various channels.
What does that mean?
Madam Mayor,
What does that mean?
that's my question. Would you just define what centralized communications channel means? Somebody? Can you just kind of, explain that for dummies, please?
Bethany, please come to the mic.
You raised your hands.
Hey.
She's the PIO.
Madam Mayor to Councilmember Cottle. So as a public information officer, one of the things that we try to do and what the city is trying to do is that you have a central city message. There are multiple channels that go out, such as MATCOM, such as the PD, such as the museum, such as the library, but all of those need to be one central voice that comes from the mayor. So we will have different channels to push those messages out, but there is someone who is making sure that we're not all going in different directions. So what the Menard posts and what they say, we can enhance on our channels, but we also make sure that it maintains the city's view and the city's voice. Because right now what's happening is we have the city, and then we have MATCOM with their own logos and their own information. We have the museum with our logos and our information. We have PD, their logos, their information, the Menard with their logos and their information. We need to make sure that all those still represent the city because we all are departments of the city. So that's what I believe this goal is trying to do.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
No, stay there, through the mayor. Okay, I hear what you're trying to do, but I do not really see an action that I can measure against that, nor do I see a budget item that would be attached to it. Can you explain to me what those two items would be? What do we action and how and measure, and what budget item are we going to attach this to?
Right now, it would be under different budget items because each department has their own right now. So there is no central location for this information. So the administration Facebook page, which doesn't have a cost, is maintained by the mayor, and the information that goes out is her words. The Menard maintains their own Facebook page, their own portion of the website. Each of us pay a part of that. So there's no centralized location right now, and I think that's what this goal is trying to do, is to create that centralized location, that centralized budget line item that does that for all of us. So each of us are doing it separately right now. We're all on our own, doing our own thing, creating our own stuff and our own budgets. There's no centralized location to do that. So there's no one person to do that.
So, Madam Mayor, follow on, so then it is what you're really saying is organize the Wasilla City administration to centralize communication. So the organize is a verb that I can action
Okay.
and I can measure.
And again, this is not I did not put this in here, but I'm trying to define what it is, but organize would be a good terminology for it. So instead of centralized communication, organize the centralized communication. Say that again, I apologize.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So, correct me if I heard you wrong, but you say, Menard has their own Facebook page, the police have their own Facebook page, MATCOM has their own Facebook page, but you said there was no cost to those.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no budget item to attach those to. So are you creating a new department, creating a new budget item by bringing forth this channel? I mean, is this something where we're gonna have to allocate, some of your time specifically to this? I mean, right now as the PIO, it's kind of hit and miss, depending on what's going on. When there's a windstorm, you're busy, and when there's not, you're not nearly as busy. But I'm coming back to the budget part of what Mr. Johnson is talking about. How is this going to affect the budget?
So right now, this is not affecting the budget because there's no cost allocated to it. It's just having the mayor know what channels we have, what's going on, and then maybe within a year, we can come back and say, okay, this is what's happening, this is what people are doing, this is now where we need to move. But within this next year, there's no cost as far as I know attached. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor?
One reason that this is in here is because we want to, when we have something happen, we all want to be on the same page. We don't want one department saying, it blowed down 12 trees, and this department say, no, there's only 2, and there's a rabbit in 1 and a squirrel in 4. We all want to give out the same message, and so that is what we're trying to do right now. Steve is trying to clean up our Facebook. I mean, we've got people out there with Facebook, I don't know how many, Steve, you can speak to that. But anyway, we're trying to clean up all of that to where we are all on board with the same message, no matter what it is. It's like if something happens with PD and Amanda sends something out, Bethany will send out the same message. She will put it on the city administration's Facebook page, and it'll be the same message that Amanda sent out.
Madam Mayor, so when we talk about centralization and just what you were saying about Facebook, would there just be one Facebook site where anybody can, you click on the city and then maybe you can, no way to do that, that you can see Menard Center, you can see the library, you can see this, you can see that, all on one site, or people always want to have to go here, go there, go there?
Not through Facebook.
Okay.
So Facebook, you each have your own channel on Facebook. If you wanted to do something like that, that again is through the website, which is going through a redesign. So that could be where it's that services page, and it would be all of our pages they could go to. But what the centralizing is yes, we each have our own identity within our departments that we want to maintain, but we also need to link back to the city so that people know we are city departments. Because I think there's a lot of fractioning at the moment that people don't realize who supports who and where. So we want to make sure that the community knows when they go to the museum, when they go to the Menard, when they go to the PD, they are city departments. We each have our own voices, but we all need to speak with the with the mayor instead of separate. So that's kind of what the centralizing.
I think part of the discussion is, I think we're all talking about different things. I think there's communication in a disaster. I think there's communication every day. I think Facebook is one part of social media. I just went to a class that said Facebook is out. Nobody's using it anymore. We don't control Facebook. I'm personally a big advocate of boosting up our city website. That's something everybody can access. And these other Facebook and the Twitter and the this and, or it's not Twitter, right? It's X. Those are great. Those are supplementary tools. But I really see a need in the city to figure out what is our mode of communication, who's in charge of that, whether it's just in a disaster, whether it's not in a disaster. And I thank you for listening.
Madam Mayor, on that note, so running multiple businesses, you can always have one page for everything. So the city can have one Facebook page and it can air everything on that instead of having these private ones that everyone's trying to put their own messages. And so unifying it that way and making it where, yes, one person is in charge of all that. At the same point, that can go on all platforms at once. It's not that I have to do my own Facebook for parks and then we have to link it over here to the administration page and then back over here. It doesn't work that way. And IT Stu will tell you that. But I agree along the lines of disaster. Yes, it can be on social media, but you also have to have that other side of it for the guy that's not on social media as our clerk, right? I mean, there are multiple people that decide not to do that. So therefore, website should be ultimately the do-all. Social media can be a second platform.
And there are that's why these multiple channels. The other thing is that there are some people that I know who will not join a city page, but they will join an individual page because they appreciate the individual page, but they don't necessarily want to join the city page.
Madam Mayor, then they don't join our page.
Okay.
Like, we are putting it out there on one, you know what I mean? Unified, that's how you do that.
Steve, do you want to come up and talk about this? I know you don't, but please come anyway.
Madam Mayor,
Madam
one
Mayor.
more thing sorry.
Mr. Graham.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the title page for today, IM 2417, summary statement. As part of the budget process, the city council develops goals and initiatives. This has nothing to do with the budget process. This is something where the staff comes to the mayor and says, this is what we need to do. The mayor develops policy and the mayor does it. That's why we have chief executive officer known as the mayor. For us to be discussing this here, doesn't affect the budget, and therefore, isn't really something we need to be talking about. It's a great discussion, great thing to talk about, but it has nothing to do, with the meeting tonight and why we're here. I would say turn this over to the mayor and she develops policy, and that policy is policy, so.
Madam Mayor? Isn't it separate from, yeah, we are, we approve the budget, we have input into the budget, but I would think goals and initiative, I think that's a great goal. I don't know why it would not be on goals, just because there's not a budget item to attach it to. It's not goals and initiative for budget, it's just the city's goals and initiatives.
Okay, Eric?
Part of the budget process.
So there are things that touch the budget. So for instance, just talk about how social media works. The clerks have a program that monitors our social media because we have to archive it, right? So there's these public facing activities that cost money. The website's very important, which means that we have to spend money to keep it updated, and if we find the platform isn't serving our needs anymore, we have to update that too. I think you've touched on a lot of great things. Communication changes over time and events, and to have a good cohesive message means that there needs to be the structure and the technology in place to identify what that message is from time to time. So for instance, the Menard's excellent at their marketing. I'm not so good. I would love support where I'm like, I've got this problem. I don't really know how to make it communication worthy. I don't want to make a mistake and misspeak. So have that support and say, oh, this is your message. We know how to tailor that. Here's how we're going to push that water break out there. Or, community events. We want people to know emergencies, know updates that are going to impact them, and then know the wonderful things that are happening in the city. And I think this goal says a cohesive communication method is very important so that we don't have crosstalk. We don't have an excellent communication effort on one side and then a poor one on the other. It all has a good level because there's support for the right message at the right time.
Madam Mayor?
Okay, Steve, would you come and talk about the website?
Yeah, so I think the website is going to be like the main channel. That's the end goal. We want anything important to go there so every citizen can reach it. Not everyone, I don't even use Facebook myself, and so it's kind of challenging kind of having to deal with it. So there might be some money issues with this too, considering like social media or digital marketing consultants, things of that nature. A small amount of budget with this, but it definitely right where this is more of a policy and organizational goal where let's all get the same message out, get organized, understand how it works. This is our messaging platform. This is where we're going to notify citizens of everything on a platform they can all reach. So I think that's kind of, it's the goal. We still need to get there, so it's probably applicable on something like this. It's kind of.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
Okay, I hear what you have to say. Thank you very much. So the first thing is we answered on the what on number 3. The action was to organize, but we don't really have nailed down what our deliverable is in terms of, is it a plan, report, website, or what? Which is the deliverable that we could actually measure against. And I think that's what you were talking about, and I think we should tie that into some sort of a deliverable.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there needs to be policy and procedure around the messaging and the communication. So that could be an end goal or result or something measurable that the policy and procedures are in place for social media and how we communicate with the public.
So let's put a deliverable in there somehow.
Okay, everybody good with that?
What's the deliverable?
Any clarification on the deliverable? What word?
What I got out of the deliverable was,
A plan, a policy, or a website?
the website,
I mean,
which Steve just got through saying, that is,
it's going to be I guess the deliverable will be a policy and procedure that clarifies, public communication through the city.
I'll read what we just wrote. So, organize the centralized communications channel through the website to effectively build a strong brand, image, and consistent messaging to residents, businesses, and employees through various channels.
Now
Is that
we-
it?
Now we got something we
Okay.
can action and evaluate. Good.
Okay.
Cool.
Mr. Graham,
So my question again would be, do you really want the city council involved in this? You said yourself it was a policy issue. I mean, if the city council needs to be involved, we need to say, well, here's the funding that we need to do. I mean, we've got the deliverable up there is to, have policies which would be developed by the administration, not by the council. The administration develops the policies and the end result is this deliverable of everything we need to know comes through the website.
I guess it all matters what the idea of this goal and initiative is, if it's to appropriate funding at some point, or if it's just a general, these are the goals of the city, if they have a small amount of budget or not, or does that more just fit into administration's plan, or are these goals and initiatives kind of council administration wide? That's kind of the.
well, they will be a physical note for the simple reason that nobody's gonna give us a website. We're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, there you go. That was,
Yes, and any consulting engagements would result in budget changes, so.
Madam Mayor, can you scroll down, just so I can, or up, or whatever? Should it say improve communications? Like, that needs to be a little bit broad with technology, as we all know, as things change rapidly in that world.
To improve messaging, is that what you're saying?
No, go ahead, clerk.
There's just
Oh,
a
I
variety
thought
of
you were-
variety.
yeah.
Ensure that relevant information is easily accessible and regularly updated.
Yeah,
Say that again.
I just take, ensure that relevant information is easily accessible and regularly updated in a central place, I don't know. Improve information flow to ensure that relevant information is easily accessible and regularly updated in a central place, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because depending on what the disaster is, what is the central location if all social media is down? Right, I mean, it needs to be broader, right? Technology's ever changing.
Through the website or other means.
Or you could also do since we love plans, you could fund a communications master plan.
Master communication plan, that's what we need right there, a master communication
Oh,
plan.
and I think all the policies that would be generated by going through this would say where the messaging should be. In a certain disaster, it should go everywhere. If you're just saying, there's an event or a thing, it's gonna go in the specific channels it needs to be. So that's why the policy needs to be written, because right now, there's nothing that says where things should go.
So we need
that's
the
kind of-
master plan.
If it needs to
There
be
it is.
Master plan, then.
Yep, we need to change that, let's change it. It's master plan.
Madam Mayor?
Kathy?
Because this does deal with our website and there are costs associated with websites, I believe that at the very beginning of that sentence where it says organize before that we should put allocate necessary resources and funding to organize the centralized communications.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly a budget item.
Necessary.
we finally got it down what
Don't forget centralized master. We gotta get the master in there, you guys.
Likes that.
Yes, we have to have a master plan for every department.
So, Madam Mayor, just for that wording, to allocate necessary resources and funding. Please. Thank you.
Finally got a goal.
Is a centralized communications channel? That makes it sound like it's already there.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? All right, thank you, Steve.
Yep.
All right, number 4.
Continuously update and modernize city regulations across all applicable codes, e.g. Title 16, 3, 5, 6, etc., to ensure they remain relevant, clear, and aligned with the city's evolving needs. Regular reviews will be conducted to address outdated language, incorporate emerging best practices, and reflect changes in state and federal laws. Updates will focus on streamlining processes, improving compliance, and enhancing transparency for residents, businesses, and stakeholders. This ongoing effort supports efficient government, fosters economic development, and ensures that city regulations effectively serve the community's current and future priorities. Another really long one.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So, yeah, this is what the city already does, which is great. I would just recommend removing the last 2 lines off there. Once again, the last 2 lines are just staff summary sort of things and don't really belong as part of the goal. It's just explaining it. So.
I agree with Mr. Graham.
I may, if the body, you may want to strike regulations and put in ordinances, because that's what we're really talking about.
Or codes?
Ordinances, update the ordinances.
Yeah.
It's a budget item.
Yeah.
No, that's how I feel. I think it's both, and this affects us too.
Eric?
Just want to make sure, so we're striking everything from updates down, the highlighted section on the screen. Is that correct, Mr. Graham?
My intent was to the last 2 lines on the screen, starting with this ongoing efforts.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Strike just update the code, update the code of ordinances.
Okay. Say that.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, get rid of the word continuously and just put update. Yep. Update and modernize city ordinances. Code. Yep. Across all.
And struck off all applicable codes.
Across all.
To ensure.
Do we
Well,
need
ordinances is
regular
fine.
reviews to be
Ordinances is
conducted?
fine, right?
Yeah, I'd take out city code, because then we say all applicable codes, yeah.
To ensure.
There we go, yep.
Okay, is everybody good with that? Mr. Graham?
Sorry, I turned that on.
That's okay.
Are you sure you don't want to have it?
Okay, it is 7:56. We have went through 2 goals. We have got 2 more to go. And we have another meeting. So, huh? Have we got, we've got
4 and
3, 4,
And 5.
oh, 5. Well, 5's little, so.
That's what you think.
Till we start talking about it.
We should have started with 5.
The frosting in there.
Okay, so it's up to the council. This is their meeting.
Madam
Like I
Mayor, I
say,
move to
it's-
exit committee of the whole.
Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I second.
The motion has been made and seconded to exit the committee of the whole. So we are out of committee of the whole. We are on to audience comments, and there's nobody but us here. I'll close audience comments and bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
So, I just wanna say, we started off this meeting, I was a little uncomfortable, and we ended with laughter, and that's just the beauty, and I love it. So congratulations to everybody, wanna wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and then,
Tell them about the new council meeting.
yeah, so I was just gonna do that.
Oh,
So
sorry.
we canceled tomorrow night's, meeting, we'll continue this session on January 6th, be a special meeting, and then the 13th is our next regular meeting, so that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'm glad that we took a moment there at the beginning, to take a deep breath for everybody in the room. Sometimes we do have to take those steps back to cool off and know that we are a team ultimately in the end, you guys. And we, as the clerk says, ended with laughter, which is a good thing. And it makes everybody feel good. On that note, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and we'll be back here on the 6th.
Okay. Councilmember Cottle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we ended up doing some good work tonight. And I like the way everybody ended up working together. I look forward to finishing this on the January 6th meeting and look forward to all of us working really well together in the new year, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. Just appreciate all the teamwork tonight and look forward to seeing you guys after the new year. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the straightforwardness of the directors with what we're trying to do here. That's important, that we look down the road, even though it's a new process. You know, new doesn't mean better, and it certainly doesn't mean worse at the same time. It's just something that we work through, so we will figure that out. I also appreciate the indulgence of the council in canceling tomorrow's meeting so that I may attend a personal event. And I certainly wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, there's certainly plenty of things to be thankful for this time of year, and I hope you take time to enjoy them. Thank you.
Councilmember Velock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, everyone, for the great meeting. It's always fun and interesting. And that's about it. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll see you in the new year.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, council. Thank you, administration, for your work. I look forward to continuing this process. Again, I want to make sure that what we're producing here is actionable, measurable, and we can actually, at the end of the year, when we go through our goals, can say, yes, we accomplished this goal through these actions. That would be what the end result when we would be at last December's meeting, and we'd be able to see that exactly as to how it was carried forward from this plenary goal session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for, I know we started off shaky and whatever, because like I say, old people don't like change. And this is a total new process for everybody. But I think we made great strides tonight. And I'm hoping that we all got on the same page and whatever, it appears to be that way. So thank you to the directors for the work that you've already put in, and to the council for the work that we are putting in. So everybody have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have nowhere to go Christmas Day, come over to the Menard Center. I'll be on the serving line because Chatty Cathy gets to see everybody and talk to them. So
Watch
We
the
will-
Kathy comment.
No, that ain't, huh?
I hated that doll when I was a kid.
Oh, well,
I still have mine. I love it.
yeah, Christmas friendship dinner. So, it is 11 to 3. So, anyway, sorry Kathy, no reflection on you. I'm the one that talks all the time. So, anyway, everybody have